Walk into any dispensary in California and head over to the vape section. You'll see this one brand with the little magnetic pods that snap onto the battery in every color, taking up a huge chunk of the shelf. It's one of the biggest vape brands in the entire state. But there's something wild about PlugPlay that most people don't know. It might be the most counterfeited weed product in America, to the point where for years, most of the PlugPlays out there weren't even real. This is the story of PlugPlay, and how the exact thing that made it famous is also what nearly sank it. So let's start at the beginning, which is Los Angeles, back in 2017. The story goes that it was started by 3 friends who'd known each other since they were 14 years old, all of them born in the same year. A couple of them had backgrounds in growing and running dispensaries, and one was an extraction guy who knew how to make the actual oil. And by their own telling, they basically started the whole thing out of a garage. Now I've got to be straight with you about that origin story, because almost all of it comes from the company itself and interviews they've given. So take the garage startup, 3 best friends version as the company's version, not something anybody's independently confirmed. What we do know for sure is the brand launched in Los Angeles in 2017, and it moved fast. It actually started with a slightly different name. When it launched, it was called Plug and Play, like plugging an auxiliary cord into your phone and the music just plays. But there was already a big tech company using that name, so about a year in they shortened it to just PlugPlay to avoid the trademark problem. Now let's talk about the actual product, because this is the thing that built the whole brand. Back when PlugPlay came out, basically every vape cart worked the same way. You had a cartridge with threads on the bottom that you screwed onto a battery. It's called a 510 thread, and it's been the industry standard forever. It works, but it's got problems. The threads cross up, the connection gets loose, and the cart doesn't always sit right. PlugPlay threw all that out. Instead of screwing the cart in, their pod just snaps onto the battery with a magnet. You pull it out of the box, you snap it on, and you're done. No threading, no lining anything up. That's literally where the name comes from. It's plug and play, like an aux cord. It snaps in and it works. And that little magnet did something clever for the business. Because their pods only fit their battery, and their battery only takes their pods, so once you bought into PlugPlay, you were kind of stuck in it. If you already own the battery, the easy move is to just keep buying their pods. That's the same lock-in trick that other big vape brands like Stiiizy and Rove use. Get you onto the hardware, so you gotta refill with them. The pods themselves came in a full gram size, running distillate that tested somewhere around 80 to 87% THC. They had their main line, which they split into daytime, nighttime, and anytime. Basically, sativa, indica, and hybrid. Then they had a flavored line called exotics, with stuff like watermelon sorbet that people went crazy for. And later, they moved into live resin pods too. So how big did this thing actually get, you may ask? Well, the honest answer is pretty big. According to industry sales data, PlugPlay is one of the top 10 vape brands in the entire country, pulling in around $95 million a year in vape sales. In California specifically, it's been going back and forth as the 3rd or 4th biggest vape brand spot, behind Stiiizy, which is number 1, and Raw Garden, which is number 2. And almost all of its business, something like 98% of it, is right there in California. And they built it that way with really aggressive lifestyle marketing. They did collabs with streetwear brands, they showed up at big music festivals like EDC, they got themselves associated with celebrities. They turned a vape cart into a whole brand you'd want to rep. But now we get to the part that makes PlugPlay's story different from everybody else's. Because that magnetic system that made them famous turned out to be incredibly easy to copy, it opened up a door they could never close again. So here's how that unraveled. The actual hardware, the empty pods and the batteries and even the packaging, All of it gets manufactured overseas, mostly in China. And once PlugPlay got popular, factories over there just started cranking out empty PlugPlay pods and selling them in bulk to anybody who wanted them. We're talking websites where you can order 1,000 empty PlugPlay pods with the matching boxes for a few cents each, completely empty and ready to be filled with whatever. And think about what that means. Anybody running an illegal operation could buy those empty pods, fill them with whatever cheap oil they had, drop them in a real-looking PlugPlay box, and sell them on the street as the real thing. And the buyer would have almost no way to tell the difference, which is exactly what ended up happening on a massive scale. Fake PlugPlay carts flooded the streets. The brand name became so common on the illegal market that PlugPlay basically turned into a generic name for a black market cart, right alongside names like Dank Vapes and Mario Karts, which is a bizarre spot to be in. Because you're a legal, licensed brand, but your name is plastered all over thousands of illegal carts you have no associations with. Now this is where it gets genuinely dangerous, and I have to be really clear about the difference here. Because in 2019, there was a massive health crisis around vaping. People started showing up in hospitals with severe lung injuries, and by the time the CDC finished counting, there were over 2,800 hospitalizations and 68 deaths. But here's the key thing everybody needs to understand. That crisis was traced almost entirely to illegal market carts, not licensed ones. The culprit was a cutting agent called vitamin E acetate, which shady operators were mixing into their oil to stretch it out. The CDC found it in the overwhelming majority of the cases, and it was showing up in exactly the kind of fake, unregulated carts that people were buying off the street. So think about how that collides with the counterfeit problem. All those fake PlugPlay pods getting filled with mystery oil by illegal operators, those are exactly the kind of carts that were dangerous. The real licensed PlugPlay you buy in a dispensary gets lab tested. The fake PlugPlay somebody sells you in a parking lot could have anything in it. Same name on the box, completely different product, and one of them could actually hurt you. To their credit, PlugPlay actually tried to fight this. Back in 2019, they became one of the first weed brands to put blockchain authentication on their packaging, basically a scannable code and a scratch-off serial number so you could verify a real one. They kept changing up their packaging with holographic seals, and they run a whole how to spot a fake effort. But once your hardware is being mass-produced overseas, you're fighting a war you can't really win. Now here's the part that honestly surprised me when I looked into it. Given how much fake PlugPlay is out there, you'd assume the real brand must be shady too. But the licensed one actually has a pretty clean record. When the Los Angeles Times and Weed Week ran that big investigation into pesticides in California weed in 2024 and named a bunch of major vape brands that failed, PlugPlay was not on the list. And it doesn't have a recall on California's record either. So the real product and the fake product wearing its name are genuinely two different stories. But I'll be fair and mention the one exception. In 2026, a PlugPlay product did get recalled, but it was in New York, and it wasn't even really their fault. A third-party testing lab out there messed up its mold testing on a whole batch of products from multiple brands, and PlugPlay got caught up in that. So it wasn't a case of their oil being contaminated. It was a lab error. So even with all those fakes dragging its name through the mud, the real PlugPlay has mostly kept its nose clean. Which brings us to where the brand stands today. It's still one of the biggest vape brands in California, though it's slipped a little as the whole market shifts toward disposables and fancier live resin products. It's expanded into a few other states like Colorado and New York, and it's branched out into pre-rolls and even clothing. But it's still mostly a California vape brand at its core, and it's still independent, not swallowed up by some giant corporation like a lot of its competitors. So at the end of the day, PlugPlay is a wild example of a double-edged sword. That magnetic snap-on pod is the thing that made it stand out, made it popular, and turned it into one of the biggest vape brands in the state. But that same easy-to-copy design is exactly what let counterfeiters hijack the name and slap it on thousands of fake carts the company never made. It got famous and hijacked for the exact same reason. So what about you? Do you run PlugPlay? And could you even tell a real one from a fake if you had them side by side? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this one, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.